We, the jury, find the defendant, Taylor Denise Schabusiness, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide, guilty of mutilating a corpse, guilty of third-degree sexual assault as charged in...
Wisconsin woman Taylor Schabusiness faces the rest of her life behind bars for the brutal murder of her ex-boyfriend and former lover, Shad Thyrion. Schabusiness was arrested on February 23rd of 2022 after Thyrion's mother made a horrifying discovery. She and her boyfriend called police after she found what she believed to be her son's severed head in a bucket in her basement.
Can you tell me what's going on?
Are you positive my son's head is in a bucket? I know bucket in my basement.
What makes you think that?
Because I looked in the bucket.
What did you see?
Exactly what I told you.
Okay, where's the rest of the body at?
No idea.
Okay. When's the last time you saw your son?
Well, I guess today is Wednesday, so I picked him up from his dad on Monday. And because he doesn't normally stay here, he doesn't stay here for a few days. He got his left the laundry. He was here a couple hours, then he left with Taylor. And they met some Taylor.
Who's that?
Girl. Taylor Coronado.
That Taylor Coronado was Thyrion's ex-girlfriend from high school. She later legally changed her name to Taylor Schabusiness and would stun the small Wisconsin community with a horrifying homicide.
Yeah, I know you're busy over there, but this is actually what it's going to be. It's not going to be a 961 thing or a 96 thing, so we're going to need more units here. If we could get more units here sooner rather than later, that'd be appreciated. We've got quite a bit of blood down here, and I want to clear this rest of this house. We've got 2 people in the house for sure.
Once police arrived on scene and launched their investigation, detectives started searching for Schabusiness, as she was the last known person to have been with Thyrion. And sure enough, officers found her at a friend's apartment covered in dry blood. An additional search of a van she had been driving uncovered a crock pot with Thyrion's body parts shoved inside.
Is this blood? Does this look like blood to you? Or am I just tripping? Bloody footprint? You see this right here?
Could possibly be blood.
Hi, Taylor. How's it going? Officer Russell with the Green Bay Police Department. Just make sure you ain't got nothing on you here. With Taylor. Taylor, you have one more for your arrest. Just put your hands behind your back quick.
Detectives questioned Schabusiness about the murder at the police station. During the hours-long police interrogation, she told authorities that she and Thyrion smoked meth and had spent the previous few days together. And while on drugs the day before, the pair became intimate, and Schabusiness used a dog collar to choke Thyrion to spice things up, but confessed she liked the feeling of choking him so much that she couldn't stop.
We went there, 5 minutes in, I was already choking him.
Alright, so it happened pretty quick.
Yeah.
You started choking him, and when you were choking him, what did he do? What were you guys doing, I guess? Try to explain it as best as you can.
He was coughing up the blood right, and I was just waiting for him to die, and then I was looking at his purple face.
But when did you start, cutting up his body?
I don't know, like almost right away. I was sucking and cutting at the same time.
When you cut off at the elbows? Okay, you cut both arms off at the elbows?
I would hope so. Because I was saying that dismemberment process I did was really messed up because I was nodding out. And then I was sawing it off.
When she made her first appearance in a court before a judge, she entered a plea of not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. As her case moved forward in court, she made headlines again after one particular pretrial hearing. Schabusiness was caught on camera attacking her lawyer. As a result, that attorney withdrew from her case. A new lawyer was appointed and asked the Brown County judge to allow for a new mental health evaluation. During a competency hearing, psychologist Dr. Diane Litton testified she was not competent to stand trial because Schabusiness had thrown a chair at her during a psychological exam.
I started the interview by my usual asking her date of birth, her race. She then suddenly got up from her chair and yelled and went to the corner of the room, picked up fortunately it was a plastic chair, and then she threw it at me across the room. It did not hit me.
Despite the doctor's testimony, Judge Thomas Walsh ultimately ruled that Schabusiness was indeed fit to stand trial. During opening statements, prosecutors described every disturbing detail to the jury, including images found on Schabusiness's phone showing her fascination with serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer.
The defendant strangled her friend Shad Thyrion to death using a dog collar. That after he was dead, engaged in sexual acts with him, with his body, subsequently dismembered him using kitchen knives found in the home.
The medical examiner also confirmed Schabusiness's confessions that Shad Thyrion died by strangulation.
Doctor, you indicated in multiple areas where you saw evidence of strangulation. Did those same areas allow you to make some sort of determination or form an opinion as to the amount of force or the amount of time that force would have been applied to the neck?
This is a great deal of force. We're not talking about simply injuries to the superficial structures, for example, the skin. I have injuries to the very thick muscles on the sides of the neck. I have injuries to the soft tissues beneath this. I have injuries to all the soft tissues surrounding the neck. And I also have hemorrhage on the soft tissue on the anterior aspect of the cervical spine. This is hemorrhage deep through multiple layers of the neck, consistent with a great deal of force being applied and a great deal of injury.
Medical examiner Dr. Vincent Tranquita also described the victim as essentially being left bloodless.
I believe that this is post-mortem mutilation because there is no hemorrhage associated with these injuries. In other words, I have multiple sharp force trauma with multiple stab wounds, multiple punctures, multiple incised wounds of the skin, deep cuts within the muscles and tendons and soft tissue, deep cuts within the bone, but all of these cuts are non-hemorrhagic. In other words, there's no blood or bleeding associated with it. These are consistent with post-mortem mutilation. In other words, there's no circulation going on.
Shad Thyrion's mother and sister also testified for the state, both opting not to be on camera. Thyrion's mother told jurors about the moment she discovered her son's dismembered head in their basement.
After you saw what was in the bucket, what did you do next?
I went back up to the second floor of the house and woke up Steve to have him verify that I saw what I saw.
Meanwhile, Thyrion's sister explained that her brother and Schabusiness were best friends.
Do you know Taylor Schabusiness?
Yes, when I was a kid.
How do you know her?
My brother's best friend.
Okay.
During closing arguments, Schabusiness's attorney said he didn't believe the case was as clear as prosecutors made it out to be.
Was this an accidental death? Did Taylor Schabusiness kill Shad Thyrion? Was there intent to kill Shad Thyrion? Did Taylor Schabusiness have the mental purpose to kill Shad Thyrion?
However, it didn't take a Wisconsin jury long to find Schabusiness guilty on all charges, moving the proceedings to the penalty phase, which required jurors to determine whether or not Schabusiness had a mental disease or defect during the crime. Since the defense had the burden of proof, Schabusiness's attorney tried to humanize the convicted killer by calling her father, Arturo Coronado, to the stand. He testified he tried to get his daughter psychiatric treatment years prior to the murder and took Schabusiness to a psychiatric clinic because she hadn't been in the right state of mind.
Was she experiencing like hallucinations?
She was not in the right state of mind at all. So I feared that she would hurt herself. So that's why I took her. We both agreed. We both went there together and tried to get help, and then ended up releasing her, and she came home, and that was about it.
Taylor's father, who is also serving time in prison, also testified he loves his daughter.
Did it ever come to a point where you didn't want her to stay there anymore because her behaviors were getting worse or her mental status was getting worse?
No, I love my daughter, so I'll do whatever it takes to help her out.
even exchanging a playful banter with her as he exited the courtroom.
I love you too. Go Bears. Take care of them.
The defense also called back psychologist Dr. Litton, who had testified in Schabusiness's competency hearing. Dr. Litton also told jurors about the chair-throwing incident, but told them Schabusiness should be found not guilty by reason of mental defect.
My opinions are that she was not responsible because of a mental disease. She wasn't responsible for the criminal conduct because at the time of the event, she had the mental disease, and it both affected, she lacked substantial capacity to both appreciate the wrongfulness of her conduct at the time the homicide occurred.
The state presented their own psychologist to counter Dr. Litton's evaluations.
Did you also then reach an opinion with respect to the, I guess, second question or the second part of the NJI evaluation, whether she was responsible for the conduct?
Yes.
All right. And what was that opinion?
I found insufficient support for the conclusion that as a result of a mental disease or defect that she either A, was unable to conform her behavior to the requirements of the law, or B, was unable to appreciate the wrongfulness of her conduct.
Schabusiness declined to testify during both phases of her trial, and both the state and the defense moved forward to their final arguments in the final phase of the trial.
There's an instruction, I believe the judge already gave it to you, but it indicates chronic use of drugs or alcohol may produce a condition that can constitute a mental disease or defect if the condition has become permanent. Something to take into account here.
It's the defendant's own words that this was fueled by meth, and now it's, well, no, it's bipolar. It's something else, some diagnosis from way before this offense. And that's not the standard you are to apply.
Jurors deliberated for less than an hour before returning their verdict.
At the time the crimes were committed, did the defendant have a mental disease or mental defect? Answer, no. There's no answer then for question 2. It is dated this date, July 27, 2023, signed by the foreperson. There were no dissenting jurors.
Schabusiness is scheduled to be sentenced on September 26. Since there is no death penalty in Wisconsin, Schabusiness faces a mandatory life sentence. The judge could determine whether or not she should be entitled to a possibility of parole. During Schabusiness's sentencing hearing, victim impact statements are expected to be made, and the defense could put on a mitigation case, meaning they plan to present evidence such as trauma, abuse, or neglect suffered by the defendant to lessen her culpability in the crime. Schabusiness will also have one last chance to address the court during her sentencing if she chooses. Reporting for the Law&Crime Network, I'm Elizabeth Millner.